I didn't realize how invisible I had become until the day everyone noticed me at once. It happened at my grandson's engagement dinner. The restaurant was crowded with relatives, laughter, and the kind of conversations that overlap until nobody is really listening to anyone else. I sat near the end of the table, where I had gradually found myself over the years, not assigned there, just drifting there. My son David was busy greeting guests. My daughter-in-law, Melissa, moved confidently from group to group, directing servers, answering questions, and making decisions before anyone else had the chance. She was efficient. Nobody could deny that, but somewhere along the way, efficiency had become authority, and authority had become dismissal. It hadn't happened overnight. Years earlier, when my husband was alive, people still asked what I thought. After he passed, those questions became less frequent. Then they disappeared altogether. If I suggested a restaurant, someone chose another. If I offered advice, the conversation moved on. If I remembered a family tradition, someone explained why things were done differently now. Nothing dramatic, just thousands of tiny moments. I told myself it didn't matter. Most days I believed it. That evening, I almost did too. The disagreement started over seating arrangements. One of the younger cousins wanted to switch tables so an elderly aunt wouldn't have to climb a few stairs. I quietly agreed. It would be easier for her, I said. Melissa didn't even look at me. We already have a plan. The cousin hesitated. I repeated myself. She's 83, moving her downstairs might be kinder. Melissa turned sharply. The conversation around us faded, then she said it, loud enough for half the room to hear. No one cares what you think. Silence arrived instantly. Forks stopped moving. A few people stared at their plates. Others stared at me. Melissa looked annoyed rather than embarrassed, as though she had simply said something obvious. David opened his mouth, then closed it. I remember noticing the reflection of the lights in my water glass. Funny, what the mind focuses on when it's deciding whether to break or remain standing. I smiled. Not because I was happy, because I finally understood something. Nothing I could say in that moment would change years of habits. An argument would become another story about family drama, so I folded my napkin, stood slowly, and said, I have an announcement. The room stayed quiet. Melissa crossed her arms. People assumed I was changing the subject. In a way, I was 3 months earlier. I had been approached by the board of a regional charitable foundation. For 27 years, I had volunteered there. Most of my family knew I volunteered. Very few understood what I actually did. The foundation managed several scholarship programs, community grants, and educational projects across the county. After a long search, the board had asked me to become its new chairperson. I accepted. The appointment had been finalized that morning. I explained this calmly. A few people nodded politely, then I continued. I explained that the foundation would soon oversee a new community development initiative funded through a substantial estate gift. The project would create internships, scholarships, and leadership opportunities for local students and young professionals. Several relatives sat up straighter. Some of their children had already expressed interest in applying. Melissa's expression changed for the first time. Then I shared the part nobody knew. The board's attorney had completed the official appointment documents that afternoon. The foundation's executive director, who happened to be attending the engagement dinner as a guest of another family member, stood and congratulated me publicly. Everyone turned. There he was, smiling, confirming every word. Suddenly, this wasn't a grandmother talking. It wasn't a family disagreement. An outside authority had entered the moment. The room shifted, not dramatically, not theatrically, just unmistakably. People began connecting facts they had never bothered to connect before. The volunteer work, the meetings, the phone calls, the weekends away, the relationships, the responsibilities, the influence. For years they had mistaken quietness for irrelevance. I wasn't angry, so I told them the truth. I didn't share this because I wanted attention, I said. I shared it because tonight reminded me that being silent and having nothing to say are not the same thing. Nobody responded immediately. Melissa looked down. For the first time in years, she seemed uncertain, not humiliated, not destroyed, just confronted by something she hadn't expected, a reality larger than the version of me she had created. Dinner eventually resumed. Conversations returned. People laughed again. But something had changed, not because I had gained power, because they finally understood I had possessed it all along. Later that night, David walked me to my car. I'm sorry, he said quietly. I believed him. That mattered more than any announcement. Driving home, I thought about Melissa. I wasn't interested in revenge. The truth was simpler. Respect given only after public recognition isn't the purest kind of respect, but it is sometimes the beginning of awareness. The family didn't transform overnight. Some relationships remained awkward. Some wounds remained exactly where they were. Yet when I look back on that evening, I didn't remember her words. I remembered standing up. I remembered speaking without anger, and I remembered leaving without needing anyone's approval. For the first time in a very long while, my voice belonged to me again.